Okay, back again. So, the next thing that I encountered that was a little difficult was the audio gear setup. So, if you go to audio gear, here is where, when you first set it up, you can configure your audio gear for your device. For the software. And what it does is it walks you through the steps. I can show you a little bit of this. Configure. Client pairing support is not enabled. Do you want? I don't know what that is. I'm just going to close it. I'm going to cancel out of this so I don't lose my settings. But as you can see, as you configure the tracks, it will automatically find how many inputs you have. And you can see audio 1 and audio in 2. And then it will assign different modules. I'm sorry, not modules. It'll assign, you can assign an instrument or a vocal for the for what you're going to do with the inputs. You can read it. There's the help information in here. It's pretty good. There's also this option for a voice chat. I wouldn't recommend doing that. I think you can use your 2 mics inputs pretty easily. If only one shows up, which mine did originally, for some reason, you can add an audio track. So that, because you have 2 on the ProSonus, you can just add your audio track, and then it should configure. This is where I ran into some issues, because when I originally had it set up, I only had 1 input set up. And I wasn't sure why I was putting 2 microphones into the ProSonus, and I was only hearing 1, but I didn't realize it. So what I was hearing was like the mic on my instrument was picking up my vocal mic, but I could barely hear the vocals, and I didn't realize that the vocal mic wasn't working. So it took me weeks to figure that out, what was going on. It wasn't really obvious to me. But what you need to do is if you only see 1 audio track, make sure you add your additional audio track. I didn't bother setting it up for an instrument the second time because I was worried that I was going to have some issues with that. So I think you're fine just setting it up, adding it as an audio track, and seeing how it works within the setup. I'm going to cancel out of here. So one thing that really threw me for a loop when I was working on this was that once I had this set up, I had deleted it to try and start over, and I could not get anything to work right. The audio tracks weren't showing up in the session. And so I was really confused. And then I looked up something, and I emailed you about this. So if this happens to you, I'll reference that email. But if you have any problem with the audio inputs showing up, there's a like what I think it's called a smart key or something. It's a shortcut combination of like control something on the PC and something else on the Mac that erases your configuration basically and starts over. For some reason, the software has a built-in thing to remember your configuration. So if you delete those audio tracks, it remembers it every time and won't bring them back unless you do that. So that's what I finally figured out to get it to work. So now I will go back to the home screen. As you can see, the setup here is fairly intuitive. It can be a little quirky, can occasionally crash, but Not since I've had it set up properly, and hopefully it won't be a big issue for you. But once you get everything set up, then you can go into sessions and test your setup to see. You go to quick start solo, and that allows you to basically test your gear. It says here, use this button to quick start a private session just for yourself, good for solo practice and gear testing. So that's what you want to do to begin with. So we'll click that and you'll see my setup. It takes a few seconds for things to configure. And there you see, I've got 2 mic inputs. You can see that the left input, because I have a mic, and I'm clicking right near it, is picking that up. And this is basically a sample of what our sessions would look like. You have your input for your volume, and you can manipulate your volume. And I think other people, and I haven't tested what other people's setup looks like, but I think other people you see their tracks in here as well, so that you can adjust their volume. So it's kind of nice. You can adjust the mix for each other. And then this button is for panning. So you can adjust, if you want to hear yourself to the left and me to the right, that kind of thing, you can do that. Also, nice little feature here. Check this out. The video. Now you can see me, right? So I don't exactly know we'd have to look up like how the streams work, because I haven't done this with an actual session. But I believe what we could do, because I can have up to 8. I'm sure you could probably do the same with your setup. We can probably have it set up that we can see each other, which would be really cool. But the other thing you can do to test your equipment, just to see how it sounds, is this record button. Oh, and there's a mixer, to see a master mix of, this must be where you can control other people's stuff. So that is about as far as I've gotten. There's also a metronome, which is supposedly really helpful for sessions because of slight lag time with the distance. There's no way to get audio instantaneously to Austin, Texas. However, the equipment is set up so that we can have a similar lag time, so it sort of simulates that. It's within milliseconds, so supposedly it's pretty darn good. So we're going to try that out, and hopefully we won't have many issues. There might be a little bit of a challenge at first. I'm not sure. It might be a little learning curve. Supposedly what I've read on the help desk is sometimes the metronome helps to get you oriented, but we'll test it out and see how that works. But that is basically as far as I've gotten with this. So I will send you these videos so you can get stuff set up. And then what we would do is we'd set up our own session on a night, a regular session, hopefully, and start practicing. And I think it'll be pretty cool because if it's set up like a studio thing, we should be able to get pretty tight. I've always gotten pretty good results from playing in bands that record a lot. So, all right. I'm going to follow up with one more video. Talk to you.